What's up, everybody? It's Willie Harvey. Let's talk a little bit about the assignment. So I read one of my favorite books for this assignment, and it fit perfectly. The book is called How to Win at the Sport of Business by Mark Cuban. Mark Cuban is the owner of the Dallas Mavericks, I believe, and he's been the owner for 10 plus years. I'm not sure, but I believe that's true. Just a little bit about Mark. Growing up, just like us, any other college student, he was very unfortunate. I mean, he didn't have the finances, the resources like a lot of people. But what he did have was a mentality that took him further than money ever could in the beginning, and that's why he's so successful today. I guess I'll just give a little summary of the book. So in the beginning, Mark goes to college. Like I said, he was very, very broke. He learns, he goes, he graduates. He doesn't find his dream job right away, which he talks about in the book, which is very important, to stay with it and don't get discouraged. So he eventually gets a job dealing software, I believe, and he gets fired from that job. I believe because he doesn't because he doesn't want to work at a certain time of that day, and the job had to do with dealing with software, and Mark knew that, and Mark knew all he needed was an opportunity, and all it took was one time for you to be successful. So he took his chances and he started his own business, I believe. And so he started his own business. And yeah, it only took one time for him to be successful. It was all about his timing. And it's another thing he talks about in the book is you don't need to be a rocket scientist, but you do need to have some knowledge, but it's all really about timing. So Mark goes on to open up his own company, like I said earlier, Micro Solution. Does well in the 1980s. I think he sells it for $6 or $8 million, and he sells that business, goes on and learns, continues to learn, continues to perfect his craft, and goes on some years later to start up his second business. Now his second business grows and grows, but he's learned enough to manage it well. So then he sells his second business for billions of dollars to, I believe, Yahoo. And after he does that, he then goes on to buy the Dallas Mavericks, like I talked about earlier. I just want to hit on some key points that he brought up in the book. Something that he mentioned that 40 to 50% of college students are in debt when they graduate, and so you're not going to have the income right away to start your own business. So it's better to get out there, get your hands dirty, and learn, because learning early on is really the best way to go about it. He then goes on to talk about how the best businesses in recent entrepreneurship began with little to no money. For example, Apple, Dell Computers, Microsoft, HP, all were pretty much nothing when they first started, but they just stuck with it and kept learning and kept advancing and kept innovating, and they're one of the wealthiest tech companies in the world. So just a little lesson there, just not giving up so early and widening your horizon and steady learning is a big thing that he pushed upon. The last thing I want to talk about is the timing aspect of things. Like I said earlier, you don't have to be a rocket scientist or the smartest guy on the planet, but you do need to learn the ins and outs of the business that you're in. And it only takes that once for you to be successful, or it only takes that once for you to fail miserably. So he talked about timing a lot and how that played into a big part of success. How it all correlates. I mean, from this book and to the book we read for the class, they both hit on the supply chain aspect of things when running your business, which was really helpful. Really understood it. How different things move and how they work together and how they didn't work together. So another thing that relates to the book, they both talk about leverage and how if you borrow money from banks and investors, that the tables turn and you're now on the back burner and you have to get those people their money back with interest. So it just talks about the do's and don'ts and that aspect of it.